Breaking tonight with our troops under heightened alert in the wake of the Democrats' decision to release a new report on a now defunct enhanced interrogation technique program used after 9/11. President Obama defending that decision by demanding American accountability and transparency. To which some responded, "Preacher, heal thyself." Welcome to the Kelly File, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. Here are the president and his spokesman on why the Democrats chose to release this report.
There's never a perfect time to release a report like this, but it was important for us, I think, to recognize that part of what sets us apart is when we do something wrong, we acknowledge it.
It demonstrates a commitment to transparency. It demonstrates a commitment to accountability in terms of fessing up for falling short. One substantial way that we can rebuild that moral authority is to be honest about what happened, to be as transparent as possible about it.
When we in America do something wrong, we acknowledge it. We are transparent, accountable. We fess up so we can claim our moral authority. Like when the president immediately came clean about his "if you like your plan, you can keep your plan" promise. When he sold us the Obamacare mandate by denying that it was actually a tax, as he went before the Supreme Court to say exactly the opposite. When his spokesman told us the White House did not alter the Benghazi talking points, when James Clapper lied about spying on all Americans, when Eric Holder misled about targeting journalists like James Rosen. And then there's the president's 180 on immigration. For years, President Obama said he did not have the power to halt more deportations. He was specifically asked, why not just do it for at least the families of the so-called dreamers, the kids he allowed to stay here? And time again, the president said, "I can't."
Won't you at least consider unilaterally freezing deportations for the parents of deferred action kids?
But if we start broadening that, then essentially I would be ignoring the law in a way that I think would be very difficult to defend legally. So that's not an option.
And once the midterms were over, it suddenly became an option. Yesterday, he was pressed on his 180 by Jorge Ramos of Univision. Rather than be transparent and accountable, the president denied he's been inconsistent.
Are you concerned about being impeached?
No, because what we've done is not only lawful, based on the evaluations of the Office of Legal Counsel, but is of the same type of action that was taken by every Democratic and Republican president over the last 20, 30 years.
Many times you said that you didn't have the legal authority to go ahead. You said, "I'm not the king, I'm not the emperor of the United States." Even on March 2011, on a Univision town hall meeting, you told us, and I quote, "With respect to the notion that I can just suspend deportations through executive order, that's just not the case." Well, that's exactly what you did.
No.
Why did you change your mind?
No, because Jorge, at the time, and I can run back the tape on your questions and some of the questions in that town hall, the notion was that we could just stop deportations, period. And we can't do that.
Please do run back the tape, Mr. President. Ramos, of course, continued to press Mr. Obama, and the president continued to sidestep. Here's an idea of how the rest went. We've done you the favor of shortening the exchange. Watch.
What I've said very clearly, consistently, is what was clear was that we could reprioritize how we deploy the limited resources we have. We began that process as soon as I came into office. Rivals, because one of the things that I think is important to understand is that although we are reprioritizing, and we're going to still be focused on making sure that, but let me say this, Jorge.
But you could have stopped that.
No. That is not true. Listen, here's the fact of the matter. The question is, are we doing the right thing, and have we consistently tried to move this country in a better direction? When you present it in that way, it does a disservice, because it makes the assumption that the political process is one, but we've still got a big fight that we're going to have to take in the future.
I could continue on immigration, but
you could, and I'd be happy to do it, but you're probably running out of time.
So the transparency that puts U.S. lives on the line is apparently easy to come by in Washington. But that which paints the president in a potentially bad light appears to be a much harder lift. Alabama Senator Jeff Sessions is a Republican. He's the ranking member of the Budget Committee, also a member of the Senate Judiciary and Armed Services Committees. He met with sheriffs earlier today to discuss the issues with President Obama's actions on illegal immigration. Let's just start with the power, or the lack of the power. As the president pushes for transparency and accountability, I mean, it has been weeks now, Senator, and he has yet to even admit that he ever said he didn't have the power to do this. And when pressed by one of the very men to whom he made that representation, he denied that he had done it as he was lecturing our CIA analysts and American troops about how they really needed to be honest and own up to their own actions.
Megan, I think you make a very valid point. We have always had secret operations in America. Every nation in the world has those. Nations are not revealing everything that they do. We had no obligation to do that. But the president's been doing a whole lot of things that are in secret that he's denying that people should know about. For example, he had 20 meetings this summer with big business groups and lobbyist groups and activist groups on immigration. The American people weren't involved in how they were negotiating those settlements, and we would like to know that. I also think this is clearly, undoubtedly, we had a hearing this afternoon in the Judiciary Committee, unconstitutional and illegal. The president has just basically refused to enforce law that Congress has passed, and he's created an alternative system of immigration that Congress explicitly refused to pass. And that's what he's making law. He cannot do that. Congress makes the law, not the president.
And the Democrats and many of the American people seem willing to stand by and let him do it because they like the end result. And I get that, okay? I get that they like the end result, but that's not the way the system works. And when you've got the president himself being so explicit about the absence of any authority to act, and then he chooses that very action, why wouldn't half of the American Congress stand up and say, at least we need an explanation?
Well, we're getting at a point that I'm worried about what's happening in Washington. This is so basic an erosion of congressional authority that it goes without saying that Republicans and Democrats together should reject it. We absolutely have to reject it. And sooner or later, we're going to do so. This is not going to be able to stand. We cannot allow it to stand, but you are exactly correct. Congress needs to stand up and be counted, and so far, I'm still hopeful we'll get that done if this year and
really?
In the future.
Really? I mean, because the problem is that when the president, when he behaves like this, you tell me, but when he behaves like this, because we've empowered him and we have entrusted him with a whole lot, and when we cannot trust him and his administration and his White House to be honest and accountable and transparent with us, which, by the way, was an explicit campaign promise, how can we listen to him lecture others about those very values?
This is a sad day for the country that the president has demonstrated such a lack of credibility. I got to tell you, this is a very sad day. The president of the United States should look the American people in the eye day after day and tell the truth. The Congress has a number of things it can do. The simplest thing to me is for Congress to fund the government of the United States, but just explicitly bar the president from spending any money, fees or otherwise, belonging to the U.S. Treasury to promote his amnesty scheme. They're already renting a building, hiring 1,000 workers to process this, spending $100 million plus on that alone. We can borrow the expenditure of that money. There are other things that could be done also. I just think that's the simplest way to deal with it.
Let's talk about the point that you were making today in Washington with the sheriffs. Apparently some local law enforcement has spoken up now about the president's executive action, and what are they saying?
They are saying that this is a lawless action. They fully and universally oppose this. The National Sheriff's Association, sheriffs from all over the country were there at the press conference to explicitly condemn the executive amnesty and the entire system of management of immigration that's gone on for these number of years. It was a very important thing. They know what's going on the ground. They know about the crime. They know about the problems. They explain those to us, and it's time the American people realize just how much the law has been undermined, how terrible it is for the local communities, and how it's really frustrating law enforcement all over America.
Senator Jeff Sessions, thanks for being here, sir.
Thank you.